and the lights aren't quite as blinding. It it does seem more accessible though, I think. Okay, I'm ready. So, hello everybody. My name is Sarah and I am one of the pastors here. And I come from a pretty interesting background, I would say. I don't very often meet people that have had some of the same experiences as me, but I grew up in a large Mormon family traveling around the U.S. So I was usually in one or two different schools a year, and it was really kind of cool and fun in a lot of ways because I got to see all different kinds of places and meet all different kinds of people, and you learned how to engage with people quickly. And so it was really pretty awesome that way. It was difficult, I would say, being raised in a Mormon family and being a question asker like I am. I always asked a lot of questions. And I remember one time specifically, my dad was the bishop, and he was sitting behind me in a chair, and I came up on what was called Fast and Testimony Sunday, and that's when all the parents kicked their kids out of the pew to go up in front of the church and tell everybody what they believed. And everybody said exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. And I said, this doesn't make any sense to me. That's not a testimony of Jesus. And so I stood up front and I said, I believe the church is true, check. I believe that Joseph Smith is a true prophet of God, check, check. And my dad turned off the microphone. And I knew I was in trouble. I got sent to a horse farm for a whole summer for those shenanigans. But it was not good. But there were a lot of really difficult things about my background. We had one facade in public and an entirely different one that was in the background. Unfortunately, there was a lot of physical abuse, a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of emotional abuse that occurred. And then, as I got a little bit older, I was very unfortunate in that I had the experience of sexual abuse. And it was at the hands of our church leaders. And so that was definitely hard. I started drinking young. I started doing drugs young. I turned 16 in rehab, and when I got out, I decided I couldn't stay there any longer. I didn't see that there was anything left for me there. And so I ran away, and I got married when I was 16 years old. And I had a daughter when I was 19 years old, and I became a single mom pretty quickly after that. And I spent that whole middle section of my life really working and trying to earn and overcome my background. I didn't want to be a statistic. I didn't want to be a stereotype. And so I worked as hard as I possibly could, and I studied as hard as I possibly could because I believed in God. And I believed that he was going to show up in this and that he was going to help me. And I studied so much, and I didn't apply any of it. And so I ended up with a lot of information and no application. And it didn't really serve me very well. And I kept trying to attain something that I couldn't attain outside of a relationship with Jesus. I worked 60 to 80 hours a week for 20 years straight, just trying to achieve. And it truly was not until all the information in my mind came together with a relationship with Jesus and a heart change and an understanding that you can know the whole Bible, but you really have to live it, apply it, let it wash over you and fill you. And since that day, I've watched God just do miracle after miracle after miracle in my life, in my family's lives, and friends' lives. It's really been astonishing to me, and that's what he wanted for me, and that's what he wants for everybody. And so it's my goal to create an environment where people can come and they can feel loved. I don't care what their background is. I don't care what the hang-ups are. That it doesn't have to define their future. That God defined each and every one of us before we were ever born. And I want people to walk in that and to walk in their gifts and to change lives and change hearts through the power of Jesus. That's me.